Hey guys, I'm gonna switch up some of the permissions here to get you all set up. Let's see. So Caitlin, I made you co-host. Kartik, since you're a speaker, I'm gonna do the same for you.
Thanks, Andrew.
Sure, you're good.
Thank you.
Okay, Kartik. Okay, you're good. Greg, can you or Jeff unmute yourselves? No?
How about that?
Jeff, I can hear you now.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, let me, one thing, I'm gonna mute everybody. Okay. Try again, Jeff and Greg.
Doesn't look like they can. I would,
Okay.
since you're
You're a co-host. Okay, so that's good. That's a feature that should have been implemented, but is now. Kartik, you should be able to. Catherine, you should be able to in a second.
Yep. Okay.
Great. Catherine, I'm going to unmute you or make you a co-host so you can unmute yourself. Okay, there you go.
Greetings.
All right, hello. And Ravi, I'm going to make you a co-host so you can unmute. Ravi, co-host, yes. Okay, Ravi, you should be good to go. Greg and Jeff, since you guys are sitting on the panel, I'll give you that ability to. 1 second. Greg. Okay, Jeff. Jeff, there you are. So I think everybody who's on so far should be good. Let me ping Paul. Did you guys all have a chance to take a look, Greg, and I guess you Greg and Jeff? Jeff, you should be able to unmute yourself as well. I had given you a link to the panel questions. You have a chance to take a peek at that? Had any changes or questions about it?
No, I glanced over it and
Looks good.
figured it'll just be, my responses would mostly be organic. I didn't rehearse anything.
Cool.
Same here. Just glanced over it.
Perfect. That's the way it should be. All right. Cool, Kartik. I got your Skype message. I'm assuming that's been taken care of though.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. I'm gonna ping Paul and Aiden. You could hear me. We are missing Jeffrey Chu. I'm gonna unmute you. Where are you? Aiden. There you are. Okay, Aiden, can you hear me? Oh.
Yeah. Hey, Andrew. I'll go ping Jeffrey right now.
That'd be great. That'd be awesome. And for the other participants, you know, Boomi folks and non-Boomi folks would highly encourage you all to go on video, turn your videos on, so this feels like an in-person event as much as possible. So it goes for Ravi and Brandon and Aiden and Adam and everybody else. Kevin Turner. There you go. Come on, guys. You guys are good looking fellas. Cool. That's much better. I'll say something at the beginning once we get see our numbers climbing. And I'll share the deck too. I want to make sure I have everybody's. Let me share my screen and you guys can correct anything that's wrong. 1 second. Okay, you guys can see the PowerPoint?
Yes.
Okay, titles look okay? Some of these I grabbed from I think probably from your emails, and some of them I grabbed from LinkedIn. So I'm not sure how accurate they are. Look good. Any changes?
Looks good.
Cool. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Hey, Caitlin, if I have a question for you.
What's up, Andrew?
Are you able to send the latest list and links to the live events to Amy Scooby for her newsletter?
Yes, absolutely. The reg links. And what else did you say?
What's just the latest of the live events and the reg links and maybe the reg for the virtual connect?
Perfect. Yeah, I can send her everything that we have reg links for so far.
That'd be great. Cool. Awesome. I'm gonna find out from her when that's going out, because we may be able to squeeze in the next couple of events, which I'm hoping to get online at some point today or tomorrow. I was gonna do it yesterday, but yesterday changed. So she's sending it out by Thursday. So get her what we have, and if we can add a few additional ones, then we will. But she's gonna need the content sooner than Thursday, obviously, if it's going out Thursday. Sound good?
Yes, I muted myself. Sounds good.
Cool. Great. thought there was a way somewhere in Zoom that it would show the number of participants that are on the call presently.
Andrew, it does at the bottom. If
Oh,
you
I see it now. Yeah, they moved that. That's interesting because it was in the this window where we can see all the videos. Jeez. Hey guys, we're going to give it another couple of minutes for some more folks to join us here. We're up to 53 so far, so let's give them another minute or two that we can get into it. Thanks for everyone's patience. All right, everyone. Let's get going. We're up to 61 participants so far. So we'll probably have some folks continue to trickle in as we kick things off, but I think we have a pretty good number here to get things going. So first of all, for those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Andrew Michalov. I work under the Boomiverse team at Boomi, and my focus is on the community experience as well as the user group program. So welcome to the first edition of the virtual user group for Boomi South. I think this is probably a predominantly Texas-based audience, but we did invite some of the surrounding states as well. So we'll get a flavor for who's who and who's here in just a couple of minutes. But wanted to welcome everybody and just thanks everyone for taking the time to join today's call. We do have a lot of information. We do have a pretty packed agenda, so we're going to try and keep things moving as smoothly as we possibly can. But just wanted to take a minute again to thank everybody for taking the time. I know we're dealing with some interesting times. There's lots and lots of opportunities to connect virtually. There's been 1,000,001 events going virtual over the last couple of months. So we're hoping that the experience here today is different, offers a mix of great content and some good interaction and some networking opportunities and hopefully have a little bit of fun. So we're hoping to bring that all to you today and certainly look forward to hearing back from you all and providing us with some feedback so we can continue to make this this experience even better. This is our third event. This is our third virtual event since last week. We had a lot of live events planned this year, at least the first half of the year. I had to quickly pivot that and create this virtual experience. So they continue to get better, which is great. Third time's a charm. First two went really well. Just lots of great participation, and we're hoping for the same from you all. We've done a couple of live events in Dallas. Our last one was actually the last live event that we did. Was in January. I think it was January 15th. Was our last Boomi User Group live event. It was an awesome event. It was hosted in downtown Dallas at the Deloitte office. So Greg was there and a few others. I've seen some faces I recognize. So it was a great event. This is our last one, but again, we're going to continue that experience. We're going to continue to create opportunities for everybody here to connect and learn from each other, and that's really what it's all about. It's giving you an opportunity to hear stories from customers who are using Boomi in a variety of ways. We have a few of those lined up for you all today, but you'll get a chance to ask them questions as well. So let's get into the housekeeping stuff, and then we'll kind of get things really kicked off. First of all, this session is being recorded. I think it's being recorded. Yeah, session is being recorded. So if the plan is to take the recording and publish it on the community for those of you who want to go back and refer to some of the conversations that happened. Perhaps you missed something from one of the speakers. You want to go back and listen to that. With their permission, we'll also be posting the PowerPoint slides as well in the community, so you'll have a chance to go back and reference those. And for anyone who did register and for one reason or another was not able to join us today, we also want to give them an opportunity to go back and to listen to what was said and what was learned on today's session. So if you're not comfortable with that, I would say turn your cameras off. Mute your mics. I think by default everyone is muted anyway. So if you are just not comfortable having the video turned on or the mics on, I would say just mute your mics, keep your video off, and your voice and your face won't show up on the recording. We do, however, encourage everyone to keep their cameras turned on. This is not a webinar. This is as best we can do as far as a virtual event to try to recreate the in-person experience. By having your camera, you connect a name to a face and a voice. Everybody gets a chance to see each other. See some faces that you may recognize from previous events. I think it really adds to the feel of the event. So if you're comfortable with that, I would certainly encourage you to keep your cameras turned on. As I mentioned as well, that the mics are muted by default. Like on our last call, people were able to unmute themselves. So if you do have that ability, it's either because you're a co-host or because there's an issue with the Zoom platform. So just mute yourselves. Let's try to keep the noise down. However, there is the ability to virtually raise your hand. For those of you who are not familiar with Zoom, if you click on in the toolbar at the bottom, you'll see the participants button. So if you click on the participants button and Caitlin, keep me honest here. I think that's where it is. Yes, I see you're shaking your head. Yes. So you'll see a blue hand. In my team, Caitlin will be on keeping a watch for people raising their hands. So if you have a comment, you want to ask a question, you have something to say, we will unmute you and allow you to take the floor. So certainly encourage everyone to do that because we encourage that participation. Second to last, there will be two polls. One which I will launch in a minute here. Again, feedback is a gift. We want to make sure that these events continue to improve, that we're delivering value, from the experience to the content, to the length of the meeting, to subject matter or subjects you'd like to hear on future events. So those are super important. It helps us create a better experience that enables you to get the most out of these that you can. And lastly, have fun. I mean, this is what this is all about. We're all in some interesting times, and nothing feels better than to connect with your peers across the space, across the industry, the other folks who are using Boomi, folks you may or may not recognize from past events, but this is a chance to get to know those folks so that when we do return to live events, and that is our intention, this becomes another channel, not the channel. This becomes yet another channel to help us all stay connected throughout the year. So let's have some fun. Our live events always seem to have a lot of fun at those. So let's try to carry that same tradition onto the virtual environment. Okay, so before we get into the agenda, I do want to launch the first poll. This is an attempt to get people engaged, to get people starting to think and do something other than just listen to a bunch of us talking. So let's kick that off, and I'll present the results of that after we've give it a minute or so for people to fill out the poll. So give me 1 second to launch that. There we are. Okay, everyone see that popping up on their screen? Yes? Brandon, I see you shaking your head. Cool. Excellent. Jeffrey, you're not going to see it because you're a co-host. Lauren, you should see it. Ravi, you're not going to see it. Catherine, you're not going to see it.
Co-hosts will see it. We're just not able to fill it out. So you'll
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Keep me honest. Keep me honest. Sounds good. You guys can't see the results until I share them, I believe. So I have to end the polling. Let's give it about a minute, a minute and a half or 2 minutes or so, and then start to collect some results, and then we'll share that. So I would definitely encourage everybody to take a minute, jump in there, and have some fun with some of these questions. All right, have another 10 seconds. I'll end the polling and share the results. Okay. All right. Everybody can see the shared results? Cool. It's always interesting, for the live events, we've actually had a majority of first timers on these virtual environments. That's great to see that. Again, hopefully, well, first of all, we'll connect with the team and make sure that everyone is being contacted, that should be contacted to attend these events. Want to give everyone equal opportunity to connect with their peers. So thank you for those who are joining for the first time, and thank you for our returning guests as well. Good percentage of folks here are customers, which is what we strive for. As expected, mostly Texas, got some New Mexico in there. Everybody, but everyone from every location except for Arkansas. And I wore my Johnny Cash shirt for the Arkansas folks. So sorry that we don't have any of you on here, but maybe next time. Only one person claimed that their spouse was their enemy. That's interesting too. Okay, sounds good. Well, I appreciate everyone taking the time for that. Stop sharing. Hopefully that was a little bit of fun. Kind of get us in the mood here, and let's get into the agenda, and then we'll get things rolling. So we do have a packed agenda. Okay, so Catherine, you're going to be first. You ready? Cool. Sounds great. So Catherine and I met at sales kickoff for Boomi, which was in February.
Right.
I don't think you've been to any of the user groups in the past. Is that right?
No, I am also a first timer.
Okay, good. Good. So you're jumping right in head first.
Yep.
So we're looking forward to hearing your story and sharing some of the stuff that you share with us at kickoff.
Okay.
So appreciate that.
All right. Greetings, everybody. And I see some comments in the chat pointing out that just because you're from Texas doesn't mean you have to love Longhorns. So shout out to all of the non-UT folks who are with us. I am from one of the other schools in Austin, St. Edward's University, which is south of the river. So when we talk about UT, we tend to talk about that big school up north of the river. So I will tell y'all a little bit about St. Edward's and then talk some more about our story of how we came to be Boomi users. So,
Catherine, did you want to pass the controls over to you? You have slides to
I do
share?
have some slides, and I think.
Do you have control to do that?
Let me see. Let me make sure here. All right. So.
Yeah, I think what we'll do is we do have an activity planned, which I normally do in the beginning, but I think we could probably do that partway through. So we'll get through some of the speaking sessions. We'll take a little break, get into a fun, more interactive exercise, and then we'll resume with the speaking slots.
Okay.
In the meantime, so we'll get you going, and then like I said, we'll take a little break. Probably we'll let yourself and Robbie go.
Okay.
Before the panel, we'll do I like to call it an icebreaker. It's sort of the virtual brain toss activity that I have planned. So
Right.
we'll do that. We'll get into that in a little bit, but we'll let you guys go first and hopefully get people's juices flowing and asking questions along the way. So if you do have questions, again, please raise your hand. We'll be on the lookout for that, and we'll unmute you. But again, if you're not comfortable with asking yourself, feel free to throw that in the chat, and then we'll get that question over to Catherine.
Okay. Thank you.
All right,
So
take her away.
all right. Is my screen visible now?
I can see it.
Okay, cool. So it should say about St. Edward's, and this is more of a cheat sheet to remind me of some of our basic stats, so I don't have to go look it up. But just a little bit more about my background. I have actually worked for several of the universities before. So I was a UT Austin graduate. I have worked at the University of California, Berkeley, at UT Austin, and also at UT El Paso. And now I find myself at St. Edward's, where I have been since 2012. And I started out on the academic side of the house and then moved over to IT, probably about 20 years ago. So St. Edward's is a relatively small private school. We have about 4,000 plus students. And we are known for being a high touch kind of institution. We want all of our students to have a very personal experience, lots of contact with faculty members and small classes. And we also want to make sure that any of their administrative and technological interactions with the university are as seamless as possible. So I like to tell people that my team and I are doing the best possible job if nobody knows who we are. We want registration to run smoothly, and we will just recede into the background and do our thing. So when I first got to St. Ed's in about 2012, we were in the process of, let me go back. We were in the process of doing a conversion from our then legacy ERP system, which was Genzabar cars, to Banner from Illusion. And it was not just a change in software, it was a change in the entire organization and in our way of approaching software development and integration. Because basically when Genzabar was the ERP, the integrations to other systems on campus were all done with Perl scripts that was that was managed and essentially written by one genius guy who had worked there for about 40 years, and everything that he needed to know was in his head. So a large part of our transformation was that we needed to get that information out of his head and in the hands of as many other people as possible. And Andrew, I really liked something that you said at the sales kickoff and have said a couple of times since then about working out loud. So when I got there, St. Ed's was not the kind of place, where people worked out loud. It was the kind of place where people went into their offices and shut the door and did things by themselves. And later on, magically stuff worked, right?
It's music to your ears. You're an educator.
Right, exactly.
That's
exactly.
what you do.
Right. So I was very much interested in doing things in a more collaborative way. And throughout our Banner implementation, in a sense, we were forced to, because we would not have been able to get that process done without all working collaboratively. And there was a little bit of a sense, and that was a 4-year project. So from 2013 to about 2017, and after finishing that and patting ourselves on the back, there was a little bit of a danger that we were going to settle back into the, okay, now we can all go back into our offices and close the door, and then magic things will somehow happen for the integrations that we need. But a number of the folks on my team wanted to keep moving in a more collaborative direction. And so we started looking for some sort of integration as a service tool. And we reviewed Boomi, we looked at SnapLogic, and we looked at Talend. And with each of those, we, told the vendor, hey, here are some of our basic problems that we need you to help us solve. Can you do them? And in one case, the vendor was not able to make it work during the demo, so they were out. And then it came down to Boomi and one other, and we decided to go with Boomi. So the first thing that we did was to rewrite some of the integrations that had previously been done with Perl scripts, and that was basically no longer possible to work that way. So we have been able to be much more productive, I would say, in the last few years than I've ever been in any other workplace up until this point. And one of the other stories that I told at the sales kickoff was that our newest hire on my team is somebody who came on last October, and I think he's already been just about as productive as all the rest of us who've been there for 7 or 8 years. He's been able to do a lot of the kinds of things that our end users have been clamoring for years, and actually a lot of what they've been asking for, and I would be interested to know about this from other customers. They don't actually want really elaborate solutions. They want to be able to do some very easy things that they have not been able to do through the Banner interface, such as do uploads of a bunch of records. So essentially, they want to update one table in the database. They have 1,000 records in an Excel spreadsheet. They don't want to have somebody enter them all in by hand. They just want an easy way to take that spreadsheet and upload it and have that data represented in the database. And it's amazing how difficult that is, working with the tools that were provided from Illusion. And using the Boomi integration tool, James, my new teammate, has been able to do about 5 of those data upload integrations just since October of last year. And it's remarkable. Finally, we're doing something that actually makes people happy, as opposed to the things that they say, yeah, we know that you have to do that, but that's not what we really want. So I don't know if there's a good way to frame that as a poll question or not, but how many people have customers who are looking for simple integrations and how many people are looking for more complex kind of integrations. And some of the other kinds of things that we see for the future, when we were starting to use Boomi, we had no knowledge that we would be given the job of doing a Salesforce integration. That came up after we had purchased the product and we thought we knew exactly what direction we were going in. And then all of a sudden, in the last part, I think December of 2018, suddenly we got the word that, hey, we're going to do Salesforce. And we're going to start with the Salesforce advisor link. And we need to get data in it. And oh, by the way, it needs to be ready by April. And that's another thing where there are other ways that we could have accomplished that integration. You know, we could have licensed one of the data loader tools directly from Salesforce. We could have gone back to our old style of writing SQL loader type scripts by hand. But it was so much easier and faster for us to be able to get up and running. We had to load information for terms, programs, departments, faculty, students, courses, course sections, course enrollments, and that represents that not all of those are a one-to-one kind of table to Salesforce object relationship. That probably represents more of probably about 25 source tables in Banner that had to be converted into Salesforce E's. And we were actually able to make the deadline for the go live, which was remarkable. Again, I don't think that we would have been able to do that with any of our older technologies. So, and the Salesforce Advisor link is just one of the pieces that are part of the higher education data in Salesforce. There are also modules for admissions and for advancement and for student experience. So we will undoubtedly, in our next couple of phases, begin doing integrations in order to support those other modules. And I like the fact that this is a tool that is not completely a Salesforce product. You know, I like to have something that's a little bit more neutral for moving our data around from system to system and doesn't necessarily tie to only one vendor's version of the way an integration should work. So, and I've got various other stories of things that we've been doing since then. We made ourselves a Salesforce to Jira connector so that we can bring over cases from our service desk. Yeah, we also did a service desk implementation in addition to the Salesforce Advisor link. And it just seems like as soon as we can come up with the idea and spec it out in terms of design, then it used to be that at that point the implementation was a slog that would take several months. Now we can focus more of our attention on the front end design, which is where I've always wanted to be anyway. That's more fulfilling in terms of creating a good product for people to use afterwards.
Hey, Catherine,
I just wanted to pause for a minute and see what you had to ask. Sure.
Yeah, I had a question coming in from one of the participants. I'm going to see if I can find this gentleman for us. Why don't you continue, and I'm going to see if I can unmute this person and let them ask away.
All righty, hang on.
Here we go. I can get him unmuted.
There we go.
Make the magic happen.
Yep, you are now unmuted and able to ask your question.
Hey, hi, can you guys hear me? This is Raj.
Yep.
We can hear you, Raj. How are you?
Okay, doing good. Yeah, I just had a question around. I see in the future, if you can talk about it a little bit more, using Flow for your data uploads. Is it for SaaS products, or did you have anybody has tried with using it for an on-prem system, getting data in using Flow as a front end? A little bit more about that.
Okay, so two parts to that answer from me. We don't have any SaaS systems on campus, and in terms of Flow, unfortunately, as we were saying, we live in interesting times right now. We just had huge budget cuts and layoffs as of last week. So we had been hoping to start doing our Flow development work this year. Right now, for financial reasons, I don't think that that's going to happen. But I would be very, very interested to hear what anybody else has to say about working with Flow, because the little bit, we worked with one of the support engineers to do a proof of concept, and it looked like exactly what we needed.
So Ravi, do you want to take the second part of that answer? Being a resident expert on Flow, maybe add some if additional input from your perspective.
Sure. So just to make sure I get the question right, Ritu. So your question mainly was, how can you leverage Boomi Flow to support for on-premise applications and integrations?
Right. Yeah, we did quite a lot of work for a few months with consultants, but it always turned out that we had to kind of open either firewall ports, or we had
Correct.
to do a lot of cybersecurity, kind of things, which kind of didn't pan out for us. I wanted to know, is there anything else in the works?
Okay,
Using,
great question.
Flow to, yeah.
Great.
Because
great.
we have our molecules and atoms running on-prem. So is there a way for the platform to somehow do it without having to open up firewalls and all that? Sure.
So as of today, currently, yes, it is the Boomi Flow is hosted onto the cloud, and that's the reason why you need to have the firewalls open and whitelisted, right? Whitelisting to kick in for it to access your backend services. Now, as part of the roadmap, right? And again, I cannot give you an exact date, but as part of the roadmap, we are now coming up or working towards a release of having the Flow component to be native within the runtime engine. So which means you would now have an ability to deploy the Flow behind the firewall as compared to just running it into a hosted cloud instance. So that is part of the roadmap, and it's being targeted for later this year or so. But I can certainly connect you with product management to give you the exact timeframes so you can get some more details on the roadmap. But certainly it's a common request that we have been hearing from many customers. Since my entire infrastructure is on-premise, we would love to have the Flow component to also be in place, and product team has been working on that.
That's great. Good news. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Thanks, Ravi. Appreciate that. Thanks, Catherine. We'll see one other question. Catherine, I don't know if you want to take another question, or you want to.
Sure. Absolutely. No, I'll take questions.
Great. Susan, let me unmute you. So Susan DeBlanc, we have you unmuted.
Hi, Catherine. I'm also a Banner School. I'm curious if you had ever gotten integration going with Ethos, and if you run that in parallel with Boomi.
We kept looking at the Ethos offerings over the last few years, and they were never at the point where we thought that they were useful for what we wanted to do. So for instance, one of the areas that I've worked in a lot has been our integration with StarRes, between StarRes and Banner. And it seemed like every time I looked at the Ethos APIs, I just could not construct a good way to get the data that we needed. And part of that, I will also admit, had to do with some of our business rules. There are definitely times where I think that if our users would budge a little bit, we might be able to do more for them. They had some very complex ideas about how housing assignments and meal plan stuff should be designed. So I can't completely blame Lucian for that. But every time we looked at Ethos, we just thought, nah, it's not quite where we need it to be yet. And the difficulty even of just looking at the specs, that it was hard to drill down to where the APIs were documented, and they kept moving it around. And I think also my bosses, again, when they were talking about looking for an integration solution, they wanted something that was not tied to Illusion. Just like right now, they don't want something that's 100% tied to Salesforce. They'd rather have something that is a neutral intermediary. Does that help?
Gotcha. It does, and I understand losing the will to live and finding that API information. Thank you.
It is so true. That is absolutely true. Yes. Any other questions?
Anybody has questions, you can feel free to raise your hand or put it in the chat.
All right.
We will accommodate either or. And while we're waiting for additional questions, I'm gonna pick on a few folks who don't have their cameras turned on. So Brandon, I've seen you kind of going in and out. Lauren, I've seen you in and out. We got to set the precedent here. Byron, who else can I pick on? Drew Crocker, haven't seen your face popping up. And Darwin, I think I saw you on here as well. So let's try to encourage as many people as possible to have their videos turned on, if you could. Anyway, Catherine, did you still have some additional slides you wanted to go through?
No, that's it in terms of slides. But again, I'm just interested to hear the kinds of things that other people would ask about, so that we can really get some idea sharing going. I know the other thing that we've done, Andrew, I told you we were going to do our best to get into the communities and start asking questions and stuff, but it's still a little quiet. So what else do we need to do to encourage traffic in there?
So are you talking specifically about the forums or the groups?
Yeah. I saw that there was some activity, but not very frequent.
So you're probably referring to the higher ed group that we set up.
I think so.
Yeah, so I think the forums are going to be a better, more public place to have conversations. That's where 95% of the interaction takes place. The groups were more designed for organization of these types of events around user groups, specific, whether it's territories or regional based user groups or use case specific or industry, like the higher ed group that you're a member of.
Right.
But I'm going to start to pick on some of my favorites and try to get those groups more active.
Good.
But again, those are more around organization of this. We are going to start creating forums specific to, like I said, industry. So we will have a higher ed forum. So as you're looking to have conversations and engage and connect with folks that are in that specific industry, may have common set of use cases in ways in which they're using Boomi, that they can have those more topical and targeted conversations. So I would direct you to the forums to post questions. And give me some time on the groups to get that more active by getting some group owners. So if there are any volunteers, we will certainly take them in your space. But have you connected with John Parker from Cornell?
Not yet.
Okay.
Definitely want to do that still.
Yeah, you guys would be great. So we're doing a higher ed specific user group coming up in APJ. It's at about 2 a.m. Probably Central Time. So you're welcome to join that one. I think it's next week.
Okay.
All right. Good. So if any other questions for Catherine? If not, let's we can move on. So Ravi, are you ready? We can either go to the quick activity, or we can jump right in and let you go. So your call.
Anything is fine, Andrew.
Okay, so let's do you, and then we'll take a break between you and the panel discussion, and then we'll resume.
Great.
Sound good?
Cool. Can you see my screen, Andrew?
We can. I see Drew signed on. Hey, Drew. Shaving. There you go. Awesome. Yes, we can see your screen.
Cool. Awesome. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining. My name is Ravi Krishnan. I'm part of the Solutions Engineering team here in Boomi. So today, what I'll be talking through for the next 20-25 minutes is enhancing integrations with Boomi's Data Hub component. So when I looked at the initial poll, I saw like more than 60-70% of the audience were customers. So you all have been using the Boomi platform. So this session could really be helpful and talk about how Data Hub really enhances the existing integration capabilities, so the way we have been doing integrations, and also talk about how other customers are using those to help them with the innovation and other aspects of the platform, right? So to start with, as we all know about what Boomi offers, right? The core of the Boomi's offering is integration, right? Giving customers or you the ability to integrate with all of the different applications, whether it's SaaS, on-premise, and legacy. And this is what you all have been using it for, right? The way Boomi does it is by providing an adaptive integration platform. And what I mean by adaptive here is the ability to integrate your applications the way you want it. Could be API driven, could be EDI, could be batch, could be real time, you name it, we give you the ability to integrate with them. And as part of that, Boomi provides you with the flagship cloud-based visual programming platform that allows you to quickly build integrations and achieve the faster time to market. So when I've been talking to customers, one of the big things customers have been talking about is, hey, this is great. We are able to build integrations quicker and faster, but we have no idea about the data that is being integrated. So today, when integrations are being built, it is being built based on the information that has been provided to us by the different stakeholders, right? It could be the business, system analyst, and others, and we build them. And what we realize is it's quicker, we build it faster, but when it comes to testing, when it comes to production, many a times the integrations that we have built fails, right? And the reason why it fails is because the decisioning logic or the mapping logic, transformation logic that we have been putting into the place, as I said, is based on the assumption, right? And when the real data comes in, it doesn't match with what has been actually built in. And hence we have to go back again, reinvent and enhance the existing integration processes. This is where Boomi, as part of this Data Hub, right? So I'm putting Data Hub at a higher level, and then we'll get inside more of those details, including some product demos or screenshots, is the ability to discover, profile, and understand the data so you can build better integration. So when I talk about enhancing your integrations with Data Hub, it's not just about as you're building integration, it's into 3 phases. Before I build my integration, as I'm building integrations, and after I've built my integrations, how can really the data aspect of the platform can help us, right? So this is where Boomi gives the ability to discover, profile, and understand the data even before an integrations can be built. Because many a time we build integrations, as I said, based on assumptions and our understanding. So now with this capability, we can now create a blueprint for integration. So we know an educated, basically decisioning or logic as it's being put into the place. And also we know about the AI ML powered data mapping that Boomi offers, really enabling our customers to build faster time to market. Now, I've been into this space for a little over 20 years, working through some of the big players like IBMs of the world, TIBCOs of the world, Mules of the world, right? Everybody does integration. Today, everybody provides the faster time to market by visual programming and drag and drop. But what I'm seeing lately is customers get excited, right? The developers get excited because of these Lego type of tools that allows them to quickly build integrations. They're losing sight of making those integrations reusable, or the data from those integrations processes reusable, thereby creating a complete point-to-point integration. Again, this is not something new. We have been hearing this point-to-point for long, but it's more relevant today because of these kinds of tools that are giving you a quicker and a faster way to build it. Customers, developers are losing sight of it. So if tomorrow business was to come in and ask for enhancing the integration to leverage existing application or a new application, or to take the existing data and use it as part of new integration, it is an interesting fact that what we have seen is the initial time to develop an integration is very short, but the time it takes to enhance your existing integrations is 2 to 3 times higher than what it has taken place initially. And the reason is because of the way these integrations are being built, right? It becomes point to point, and it's not just about putting in a new integration. It's a time involved in regression testing the existing one to make sure the existing integrations are not broken and so on. This is where Boomi provides our customers with an event-driven integration platform. Again, event-driven is not something new, right? It has been there for more than 10 years, where we talked about how can we decouple applications instead of having a point-to-point by directly talking to each other. leveraging an event-based integration solution, right? So as an example, here I have a Shopify where an e-commerce website where an order is being placed. I want the same order to be sent to an ERP system as well as to an order confirmation system, so which can send a notification back to a customer. You can leverage that easily in Boomi by providing the event-driven architecture, by leveraging the pub/sub model that Boomi offers, or the eventing solution has to offer, both natively by using the Atom queuing that Boomi provides, as well as with some of the closer partnerships that we have developed with other popular messaging vendor solutions into the market, thereby giving you the event-driven architecture towards it. But again, the point is, you may ask, this is not something new, right? We have been hearing this, and that's where the whole Rabbits of the world or Kafkas of the world and many of the TIBCOs of the world, messaging solutions has been there. So what's new here, right? While this is not new, but the expectations of eventing has changed now from our customers, right? So when you look into this eventing, event-driven integration, you publish a message, the same data will be subscribed or will be published to all the applications subscribing to that event hub. But what we are seeing from customers today is, hey, as I'm building this integration, as I'm leveraging this eventing, I want to be able to integrate applications based on the context of the data. So as an example, I have the same order being created, pushed to the event hub. I want the customer information from that order to come in, and I can take it to Salesforce so I can create a marketing campaign out of those. I want the product information from the order so I can create a ticket in ServiceNow so I can help with product installation and other supporting issues. Certainly I can do those functionality today in an integration layer by putting in multiple logics inside by saying, okay, if it is coming to subscriber 1, I want you to send this data. If it's going to an application 2, I want this kind of data, which means you're now increasing the complexity of your integrations by putting those business logic, the transformation logics inside it. And again, affecting the whole point about the faster time to market to support new business initiatives as things are coming in. This is where Boomi provides you with a data-driven integration that allows customers to integrate application based on the data context. So now, rather than having to write lines of code, nor having to build complexities inside your integration, you can now extend this using a complete configuration-driven tool where you can say that, hey, based on this data that is coming in from a given application, I want certain fields to go to this application with a pure configuration, and I'll show that to you. For certain application, I want certain fields. So now you have an ability, as you're building integrations, being able to integrate them based on the context of the data. So now that we know about the data, we know what is the data being integrated, Boomi, as part of this data hub, can now help customers with transaction duplication detection. So again, externalizing the complexity that one would have to put inside the integration layer. We are certainly simplifying the integration, but with Data Hub, we are simplifying it even further. Right? And you'll see this as part of the demo, a quick thing that I'll show shortly in a minute or two. The last thing is the synchronizing application based on change detection. Now, one of the big challenges that I've seen customers doing, again, this is not a master data problem that I'm talking about, right? So do not think about this as a master data management, but more about a data-driven integration that extends your integration capabilities. So let's say the same example here, I have an order being created in Shopify. I want the order to go to an ERP system, then to a fulfillment system, and to some other logistics systems. Today, for me to provide those integrations, I have to replicate the ID information across all of these different places, right? So when an order is created in an SAP, I need to know which Shopify ID or which Shopify order does this order belong to. So now I'm having an ID information in an SAP that has got a Shopify. Now I have a Salesforce where the customer is being created, or ServiceNow where the product or the order is being created. I have to reference the same one. So this is causing a lot of ID duplications across all of these different systems. Data Hub gives you the ability to maintain in one single place. Right? So each application can maintain their own IDs. You don't have to worry about what is the corresponding ID or the key for the other applications. It can all, Boomi Hub will help you maintain that centrally. So one-stop place where you can get a complete view of your transaction or of your asset across all of these distributed applications. Lastly, is the synchronizing application based on change detection. One of the big other things that our customers are asking, especially customers who have been using SAP will see the value is every element inside your SAP object, right, has got an effective date attribute. And by just updating certain objects, the effective date attributes for every element changes, and thereby affecting the reporting and analytics for the downstream application. So one of a big customer had this requirement where they said, hey, certain information changes. For example, in this case, an order, the shipping address changes. I just want only that information to go downstream. Don't send me the entire updated order that is going to change the fields of the other elements, even if they have not changed with it. Now, again, to do that, you need to know about the state. Boomi gives you an out-of-the-box, the data hub, as part of the data-driven integration, a change detection or a data lineage as part of it. So Boomi knows exactly what is the data that has been sent to the downstream system. What is a new update coming in? If so, let me find the delta and be able to send exactly the fields or attributes that has changed to downstream. So that way we don't have to worry about updating the other fields that has not changed, thereby taking care of the effective date that I've talked about. This is where Data Hub really comes in, enhancing the integrations, right? So the expectations of integrations have gone, right? It's not just about ease of use, faster time to market, drag and drop. It's all expected as part of today's 21st century iPaaS solution. But what customers are looking for is, don't just give me the tools so I can build integrations with, give me the tools that can build integrations for me or guide me to help build integrations. So this is where the blueprint aspect where I talked about, where even before integrations could start, the Boomi's Data Hub solution can help you discover, profile, and understand. So you can understand the anomalies of data. You can understand the different types of data, right? The structures, patterns, you name it. So now you know exactly what your integration logic should be built upon. As you're building it, let's not make your integration processes complex, right? Make it as simple so you can support the new business needs that's coming in, where Data Hub, data-driven integration can now give you the ability to integrate applications based on the context of the data by providing you with a completely configuration-driven way. So now that you've seen how we leverage Data Hub prior to integration or before starting integration, as we are doing integration, we have done the integrations. The data has integrated, synchronized. Now let's talk about how Data Hub can help leverage your customers access the data after the integrations has been done. This is where we help you expose or basically extend those integrations capabilities with workflows. So we talked about flow in the beginning, right? So this is where engagement layer comes in, giving the customers the ability to enhance or extend your integrations with workflow as you're getting data. So as an example, you identify duplication that's coming in. It's not just about throwing an error saying, hey, there has been a duplicate entry found. Customers now want the ability to provide that human engagement, right? By getting them involved as part of that particular process. So they can not only be notified about the error, but give them the data, the context of the data, so they can work onto it and fix it and resume it from where it has failed, as compared to going all the way back to the source system to get it done. So this is where the engagement aspect of the platform really comes in, allowing our customers to leverage the data-driven or the Data Hub aspects of the platform to provide engagement to the end users. So now that we have connected people, processes, and systems, we have the data. Boomi now helps expose the data as an API, making it available for consumption, whether it's internal or external to the organization, by providing with a full-blown API management capabilities to ensure not just the right systems are integrated, the right APIs are exposed, but the right person gets access to the right system. Let's take a quick pause, team, see if you have any questions on this.
Thanks, Ravi. So remember, for those of you who are joined a little bit late, if you go to the participants window, there's a blue hand for raising your hand. So I would encourage you to use that. If you can't find that, you're welcome to put it in the chat, and then we'll unmute you from there. Any questions from the audience? Rob, you did an awesome job. No questions so far.
Cool. So maybe let's take the quick next 5 minutes to walk through some of the things that I just talked about and see how this things really works into the play, right? So remember, I talked about extending integrations with Data Hub into 3 aspects. Before we start integration, as you're doing integration, and after the integration aspect of the platform. So this is the before aspect of it, right? Wherein I can go ahead and let's say I want to integrate customers or orders, right? I could go ahead and start searching for a customer as an example. Now, Boomi gives you the ability to connect, crawl your existing systems, because many times what people do is, hey, we know only about the data that we know of. There is so much of hidden data that is lying around, right? By providing these crawling capabilities. Now, this is the component of the platform where we give customers the ability to crawl through different systems, again, based on the information that you have provided, and be able to understand the different data sets that could potentially match with it. So as an example here, I searched for customers. I was able to get customer information across the different systems. It could be your Hadoop, it could be your databases, it could be Snowflake, you name them, NetSuite, and so on. Boomi gives you the ability to crawl and discover your data sets. So now that I've identified the different source systems inside it, I can now click on a particular data set and get a better understanding of the data. So earlier, if you remember, when we were building integrations, we had to have access and then we pull the data, then we build it. Today, we can understand the data set. So now I'm able to pull in a sample data. Again, the platform gives you the ability to not just crawl, but get a sample extract for it. So you get a view of what the data set is going to look like alongside with fields. Now, irrespective of application, whether it's a database, a SaaS application on-premise, Boomi gives you the one unified view similar to Toad that we have been using in the past, right? To connect to databases. Very similar UI that you get a feel of what your data is going to look like. I can get onto the columnar view and I get an understanding of the different statistics. So I talked about the profiling aspects of the platform. Hey, what are the different counts of data? What is uniqueness? What is invalid, null? What are some of the top values? So now I'm able to get a better understanding. So for example, if I'm defining some business rules by saying, hey, use a phone number for the last 4 digits or the last 4 characters, I want to understand how people have been, or how the phone numbers are being entered inside. Whether do they have brackets, do they have hyphens? So now when I'm building my logic, I can have an educated logic towards it, or an educated decision behind building those logics inside it. This is where the prior to the integration aspect of the platform, where Boomi gives you the ability to look, understand, profile it. So now you have a better data to build your integrations on. Now that you've built, understood your data, now let's talk about building integrations, right? Now, canonical models have always been there and people use that extensively. So I need to integrate between a bunch of applications. Rather than me building or just throwing up data, let's identify what are some of the canonical models, right? Or the data elements that is going to be there as I'm integrating these applications. And by the way, the discovery aspect that I showed you, it's not just about connecting to the source system. Customers are now using the tool to connect to all the systems that are part of the ecosystem. So for example, I said, in the example, I have an e-commerce where you have a Shopify, I have an SAP, I have an order management Salesforce. I can use a tool to connect all these different systems, be it source or target, get a better understanding of it, create a model, so I can now facilitate a better integrations between them. So here you can see I have created a model, and as part of that, I can define data quality steps. Now, certainly I can put this inside your integration layer, but again, why make the integration processes complex, right? Make it simpler. Earlier, people were talking about smart endpoints and dump pipes. If you remember the evolution coming in, it's now even taking it a step further. I want to make my integration processes also simple and lightweight and try to see if I could bring in some functionalities that the integrations processes should be able to call upon. So here, now I have an ability to add a data quality step. As an example, there are some default data quality steps that Boomi offers, like locate. If you have address information put in, we can help you validate address, Dun & Bradstreet, and so on. Or you can call any other services as part of it. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, which was a very critical thing, right? As many large-scale customers are looking into Boomi, finance, as an example, is very concerned about security. So they want, as their integrations are being built, they want to make sure PII or PCI data is not being flown through, because today compliance is a big issue, right? CCPA that took effect in this year, people are now struggling because they don't know where the data are. So now with this tool, people can now understand, hey, are there going to be any PII or PCI data that could be possibly integrated downstream? So rather than waiting and identifying later, hey, which systems are, let's try to leverage this as we're building integration, so you get a better understanding to do that. So some of the data quality steps where you can call those to check for it, define matching rules. where if you want to identify for any duplications that you want to catch in. Again, as I said, it's a configuration where you can specify rules to do that. Again, these are not rules by just saying, hey, check on a first name or check on a last name. Boomi gives the ability to, as an example, I can say, select an account name, I can add an expression, go to an advanced configuration, and I can say, use some similarity algorithms to say that, hey, if the name sounds something similar, I could think it is a potential duplicate. But again, this is where the engagement layer also comes in. If I identify a potential duplicate, or if something is wrong with the data, I just don't want to throw exception, but this is where I can bring the engage aspect of the platform to bring humans as part of it so they can look, correct, and fix errors into that. Again, I'm not going through the complete demo team, but just wanted to show some aspects of the platform of where and how things are being done. So now that you have defined the model and the rules for top of it, you can now define the different sources. This is where we are combining the event aspect of the platform integration and the data aspects together. To summarize it, when we talked about event-driven integration, it gave you the ability to pub and sub, right? Publish and subscribe. The same data was going to everybody else, but customers wanted to put in the data aspect to it, wherein based, I still want to have the eventing capability, but I want it based on the data. So now you have the ability to define all the subscribers, but then as part of the subscribers, I now have an ability from a configuration-driven way to say, hey, based on the model that I've defined, for this specific customer, I want to exclude certain information. It's just a matter of click and configuration that we are talking about and not writing code or mapping logic inside it. So now if I hit save, any data that is going to a service now is going to have these information eliminated as part of it. So think about it where you're trying to integrate application. And yes, the order coming in from Shopify has got the customer order and the credit card information, but I don't want Salesforce to have the credit card. That's just a marketing campaign. I only need the customer. I can just select those customer elements or attributes, and Boomi Data Hub will only send those details downstream without having to write anything inside your application or putting logic inside your integration stuff. I talked about the change data capture. This is where I could say, hey, do I want to send all the fields and overridden by inclusion and exclusion, or do I just put in the change fields in this case? So Boomi now creates a delta for you, a change data or lineage to say what has already been sent, what's new that is coming in, and let me send you change the data. And again, all from a configuration-driven way without having to write a single line of code, nor have to write anything on your integration, just externalizing it via the platform. And last but not the least is the ability to even see it, because one of the big thing about eventing that we had was the guaranteed delivery, right? When I send it to a subscriber, and if the subscriber is down, we always expected the messaging solution to persist those messages. Boomi gives all those capabilities. So now I can click on a view pending updates, and I should be able to see all the messages that are currently pending for that particular application. So in this case, no messages were pending, but if I click on a different source, I now have it. But the beauty is the platform already knows whether it has to be a create or whether it has to be an update. So that way the backend logic doesn't have to do an upsert or have to query the backend application. Data Hub will automatically tell you, hey, for a given subscriber, is it a create or an update record? One of the big things, so another customer, as an example, right, where they took in as a registration, people coming in and registering information in there. Ravi goes in and registers, the backend system is down, the message is being queued up. I realized that, oh, I put my email address wrong. I go in and update it and put it inside. That's a second message that's come inside. Now I need to be careful to process those messages in a sequential order. Boomi identifies that, hey, if the first message is not consumed, I would probably update it and create it as a new one single record rather than sending it as two different messages to the downstream application. So this is where, in a nutshell, Boomi Data Hub really helps extend the integration capabilities. So our customers can focus more on the data that means business, support business initiatives, and not have to worry about building and complexifying your existing integrations. Let's take a pause here, see if you have any questions.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Ravi. Appreciate it. So we have first question coming in. Let's see. Go for it. Was it Raj or Raju? That's how you refer to yourself?
Yeah, this is Raj. This is Raj. Yeah. So
Raj. Hey Raj, thanks for joining in.
So you had shown Ravi has shown two different products, right? One is a prep tool that is recently released, and then you also have the MDH, the data hub. So are they actually talking to each other, these tool sets? When I'm doing something in prep, is it I'm able to use some stuff, or are these two different disconnected tools?
No, so you can certainly use those today, right? And we are working to provide some more native and seamless integrations between those two products and components. And again, I wouldn't call it as products, right? These are different functional modules of the Boomi's unified offering. One has been a part of the acquisition that we just recently did, which is what you're referring to. We are working on a seamless integration between these two products. But today, you have an ability to either leverage a database connector to go into the data hub, or use the hub's REST APIs to pull and push informations through those.
And how well is the hub and the so if you are having an on-prem installation with molecules and atoms, and we want to use data hub, we can still use it, and it can call these processes and run them locally on molecules from the hub?
Absolutely. The data hub is hosted on the cloud today. And there is a reason behind that, right? Because a lot of customers are looking for innovation where they're looking for distributed deployments. So I did not mention this, right? The days have gone where people were looking to bring the data to a central place, work on it, analyze it, and act it, right? By the time that thing has already happened, the opportunities are lost or the fraud has happened. So customers are now looking to be closer to where the data is being generated. So they're looking to deploy atoms across, right? And again, the licensing model, being very creative on Boomi, you don't charge based on atoms, right? So people are deploying it across stores, across hospitals, across banks. So they want to have a centralized place where the data could be shared across these different atoms. This is the reason why Boomi's data hub was put up into the secured cloud. So any atoms would be able to consume and access them, irrespective whether it's atom or a molecule. So to your question, yes, your atoms and molecule on-premise can connect securely to the data hub that is running onto a secured cloud. But again, part of the roadmap, product engineering is looking, because people are seeing the value of what Data Hub brings to the table, they are looking to see how we can bring the data store aspect of the Data Hub to a private cloud so you can have it within your own data center. But again, that's part of the roadmap that engineering and product team is looking into.
Okay, and the one last question is around the licensing model for the hub is still based on number of records, right? Or has it changed?
There are a lot of creative ways that we can provide you with licensing. Again, we'll be happy to work with you on it because now as people are leveraging Data Hub from an integration standpoint, right, the corresponding licensing also works with it. But again, that's where the sales team can help, Raj, to work with you to see what best works for you and for Boomi, right, to come up with a creative way to help it. But again, I wouldn't get hung up based on a records or so, because we are not talking about mastering data here. We are talking about synchronization, right? Giving the hub capabilities to extend your integration processes.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool.
Any other questions?
Yeah, so this is Jeffrey Ravi regarding your the Data Hub, right? I have a few questions. The first one is for the Data Hub to get that data from, for example, the one you shared, Shopify, right? Mm-hmm. So that data is basically going to be duplicated from Shopify and then to the Data Hub?
Great question. So let me quickly share my screen and show you the actual process, right? So you get an idea. So I wouldn't use the word duplicated, right? So as an example, let's take, I'm receiving it from Salesforce, right? You're very familiar with this. I connect to Salesforce, get it. But instead of taking it from Salesforce and putting it to any target application, I am passing it through Data Hub, basically. And then the corresponding applications would receive it from the hub to process them. Very similar to the eventing aspect that we have all been familiar to, right? You publish it to an event hub, and then from event hub, you consume it. In this case, you're publishing it to a data hub, which gives you the eventing capability. But then as it's going through the data hub is where all these matching rules and data quality steps and stuff are being put on top of it to get it synchronized to the downstream. So yes, it is being persisted and stored and synchronized to the downstream. But then once all the applications are synchronized, and if you think you don't need the data to be referenced back again, you have an ability to purge the record from the data hub. But many of our customers want to persist the data in the hub, especially because as they're building APIs, right? And they want to say, okay, now that everything is integrated, I want to know the information about this order. Do I want to go all the way back to all the source applications to pull it in? Yes, you could, but then again, you're building a lot of integration processes. But rather now you can expose the data hub data as an API, so making it available for consumption. So now these APIs can sit directly on top of Data Hub with all the data inside it based on what you have identified and making it available for API consumption. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, that answers my question. So the other question I have is the message persistent that you talk about, right? How does the data roll back to the Data Hub? Is there a out-of-the-box functionality between when it gets consumed, right? And then the system is down, how does the data roll back? Do you have to build that, or that's out of the box?
Excellent. Great question. And that was the big reason why I talked about the eventing, because I know many of us are familiar with messaging and eventing, right? If you remember in messaging, we had a concept called as acknowledgement, right? So when I pull a message from a message queue, I have to acknowledge the message. Until I acknowledge the message is not going to be deleted, which is how we messaging provided guaranteed delivery and reliability. The exact same thing happens from the Boomi's Data Hub as well. You have an ability to specify whether it's an auto acknowledgement or a manual acknowledgement. So if I share my screen back again and show the Boomi process as an example here, where I'm receiving it from the Data Hub, you will see that as part of the operation, there is a checkbox where I could say whether do I need to have a manual acknowledgement or is it an auto acknowledgement. So if I enable this manual, the integration process has to explicitly acknowledge it back. So in the case, to your question, if something fails, the data is not lost, the Data Hub is going to persist it with the context of data that was intended for the target application.
Okay, so having said that, right, do you see this as replacing the message bus, or this is going to work together with the message bus?
It works together with the message bus. There are a lot of functionality of the message bus that has been put inside the Data Hub. Now again, I'm not saying that Data Hub replaces the message hub. There is a place where each of them play, right? If you're looking for just a pure pub sub, don't worry about your backend application. Just send it, have them process it. Obviously, message hub plays a big role. But now when customers are looking based on the context of data, hey, I have some finance information, employee information being created. I want certain aspect of the data to go in, but then combined with the power of eventing is where you would use it. So I wouldn't say it's one or the other. It could be one over the other. It could be together, depending upon the business use cases. But a lot of customers are now moving towards a data-driven integration so they can help integrate better data, synchronize better data, and access or expose better data for consumption.
All right, thank you.
Well, thank you guys for the dialogue. We'll take one last question, and we got to continue moving on with the agenda. Is it Vikas? I'm going to unmute you. Did I pronounce that correctly? Is it Vikas or Vikas?
Yeah, that is Vikas. Can you hear me properly?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. So Ravi, you talked about data lineage actually, and I have a small question related to that. And you also specified a use case, where you said when a new record is sent over, it gets stuck in the message queue, and another update comes, and it will identify this an update. So I was just wondering how it identifies that, because the first record is not in the system. So yeah.
Correct. So no, great one. And that's the powerful feature of the Data Hub. So let's take that example, right? I go to a website, I register my details. I hit submit button, it goes down to the Data Hub. Now the backend application has not consumed that data yet, right? So Data Hub knows that this data is not being consumed, because the moment it consumes it, it is going to ask the target application to say, hey, give me your unique ID so I know what this record belongs to in your system. So that has not happened yet. Then again, a new record gets created or updated and sends in. The Data Hub finds out that, this original record has not been consumed, but I got a new record. Let me automatically find out what's the difference between the old one and the new one that's coming inside. It takes the delta and creates that as one single message with a create record. So now when the backend system consumes it, it gets one message, but with the updated fields across two data sets. This was not possible with the messaging layer, because messaging would still have two messages. And then you had to worry about what if I wrongly consume the second message and then the first message in the sequence. My complete data is out of sync. Data Hub now provides you with the capability. So you can test it out actually, where publish two messages, one standard, the second one with update, Data Hub will automatically merge these two together to create one consolidated create record. Did that answer your question, Vikas? I don't know if you're on mute or if I'm still in here.
He's
Okay.
back on mute. I think he is on mute. Vikas, does that answer your question? You're off mute now.
Thanks, Ravi. Yeah, it does.
Great. Awesome. Okay, awesome. Robbie, thank you so much. Always appreciate your expertise on these subjects. So great. Well, if you have questions for Robbie, I would certainly encourage you to reach out to him via the community. You can post specifically in the forums and mention Robbie, and Robbie will be on the alert and the lookout for that. Sound good? I see a head nod, so I take that as a yes.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. All right, let's move on. So we're going to take a break from the speaking sessions and give an opportunity for more folks to engage and participate in this next section of the event. So give me 1 second. I'm going to go back to my screen share and pull up the slide that I'd like to use for the next section. Everybody can see my screen, right? Just nod your heads. Yes. Yeah, I see a couple of head nods. Great. So for those of you who've been to the live events, usually in the beginning we kick this off. It's just a way to break the ice. Gives folks in the room an opportunity to tell their own story in 30 to 60 seconds, somewhere in that range. It's a nice way for people to get to know one another, for people to get connected. They may hear something interesting about how that person is using Boomi, and they feel that, hey, on the next break, I'm going to reach out to that person because we're trying to do the same thing within our organization to impact our business outcomes. So it's also a good icebreaker. It just gives people a chance to get to know one another on a more personal level. You start to build those relationships, and then next time that person posts in the community, you may feel more compelled to jump in and help them out. So we're going to try this. I'm going to start off by looking for volunteers. I have a couple of folks that I'm going to pick on if we don't get any volunteers. So who is interested in sharing their story? Just take about 30 seconds, 60 seconds. There's no pressure. I am probably going to pick on the folks that have their cameras turned on. But for those of you who do not, I'll scan through and see who I see. So any volunteers, please use the hand raising feature. If we don't get any volunteers, like I said, I'm gonna pick on a few folks. All right. So we have our first hand up. Raj, go for it. Thanks for volunteering, by the way. Thanks for being our first.
Yes, easy to go first, right? So
somebody has to go first. That's right. You saved my potential second person from having to go first.
Hello, everyone. My name is Raj Singh, based out of Houston, Texas. Work for a company called McDermott. We are in the oil and gas space, so industry is quite hurting a lot, but we are getting through. Role is enterprise architecture. I work in the EA team here. And then why did you purchase Boomi? So a few years back for us, we were looking to standardize because we had multiple tool sets, a lot of them homegrown and not very efficient. So we were going on a transformation within the company. So looking for a low code, something that we can drag and drop and a little bit easier to scale. So ended up being Dell Boomi that we chose. And the challenge that we are trying to solve is that whatever we had built earlier, we were not able to scale without outside intervention in terms of skill sets, and it was quite a steep learning curve. So Dell Boomi has definitely turned out to be a lot easier to understand and to manage. We are having the other issue now where it is a little bit too easy to build, so we have to put in the frameworks and the controls to manage the quality and the consistency of the output. That's one of the main issues that we are trying to solve, and also being able to be cloud integrate with on-prem and cloud because we have a hybrid environment. So that was another big thing for us, is as much connectors as we could see that is already pre-built will help us. And we are already gone through a big ERP implementation for one of the modules in Oracle Fusion Cloud. So that has tested out the platform quite well, and we are getting ready to deploy the HR HCM component in the next month or so. That's another 60, 70 integrations coming online. So our footprint is definitely expanding, and it will test out some of our security stuff as well. We are kind of having a separate environment. And so that's the next thing. So for us, that's why I was asking about flow and MDH and a lot of these things is we want to get onto the data quality side and automating things with flow. So that's what some of the things that we would like to address if we can do that. And also the cataloging piece is interesting to us because we are going the route of a data lake and looking for a data cataloging tool as well. Interesting fact about myself is just like to travel and have fun.
How's the traveling going now?
Not very good at all. I had to cancel a bunch of summer plans.
Yeah, I'm sure, like all of us, right? I definitely miss the in-person events. I love to connect with folks at these events. Just a great opportunity to build your network and to make a few friends along the way. So with that, thank you very much for going first, Raj. Appreciate it. Appreciate your participation. Encourage more and more people to do that. So if you haven't flipped your cameras on, please do so. I see Alberto. You've volunteered. You've saved the person I was going to pick on. Perhaps they're going to go third. So Alberto, we're going to unmute you and let you go for it.
Hello, my name is Alberto Zuniga. I work for a semiconductor equipment company called Tokyo Electron. We're a Japanese company, but I work for our U.S. subsidiary, and we're headquartered. The U.S. subsidiary is headquartered here in Austin, and I'm the senior manager of application systems. I've been working for them for a long time, 21 years now. We purchased Boomi because we do a lot of integrations today using web methods, but web methods is a very expensive solution, as some of you may know, and it gets very expensive if you want to virtualize. And so we didn't see a good future there. And we were actually encouraged by a company that we outsourced some of our business to make the switch to Boomi. He has a lot of clients that have moved from web methods to Boomi. And so they're helping us with our migration. We just purchased it in December of last year, and our migration from web methods is underway right now. We were about a third of the way through, making good progress. This is my really first community event. I've not explored the website. I've not done any of those things, but I'm happy to know that it's there, and I think it'll be a very useful resource. Next, for Boomi, we are also moving from Kronos on-prem to Kronos's cloud timekeeping system, and Kronos uses Boomi as the platform for doing integrations into Kronos. So that kind of made the decision a little easier anyway, because we knew we were going to move to Kronos Cloud, and so we're going to build some integrations to our time entry system using Boomi. We're also implementing SAP on a global basis. Right now, our various subsidiaries around the globe use different ERP systems. We're going to be using Boomi at least for the US to do our integrations to SAP, and we're going to be partnering with our European subdivision as well, because they're very similar to us. They're planning on doing Boomi, and we're going to try and harmonize all our integrations there. Interesting fact about myself, I really enjoy scuba diving. I enjoy traveling like the previous speaker, but yeah, my trip I was planning on going to Hawaii this summer, and that doesn't look like it's happening. I haven't quite canceled it yet, but we'll see.
Awesome. Appreciate that, Alberto. Thank you so much for sharing. So I think hopefully our next speaker, Darwin Collins. Darwin, are you out there? I've unmuted you.
Yes, I was just
Do you mind
texting.
if I pick on you?
It'll be okay. I was just responding to the previous speaker because it's like we have Kronos, we have Workforce Central. We've been using Boomi to integrate with Workforce Central, and I heard that Kronos is embracing Boomi with for the dimensions. But
Darwin's one of our community champions, and I always thank him for all of his participation in working out loud and providing solutions for people. So thank you, Darwin. And thank you for joining us. We'll have to get your account executive to send you a webcam so we can all see your face.
Okay. So I'm Darwin Collins. I'm an senior integration engineer, senior software engineer, something like that. I worked here at DART, Dallas Area Rapid Transit. We have buses and trains and various types of vehicles for like 30 years now, and we've been doing Boomi for about almost 3 years, and that was after a very intensive test of the was it Gartner's Magic Quadrant, which Boomi and several other products are listed in, and Boomi won it. And so we've been pushing stuff over to Boomi, and it's been, I don't know, I like Boomi. I don't spend enough time in it. I'm hoping some of these future ones talk about how they're enhancing the UI, because I got ideas. But
to know.
Yeah,
we're actually going to be doing a workshop with our UI UX team in a couple of weeks, and they're going to be looking for feedback.
Yes.
So if you're interested in joining that, it's a Northeast event. It's not in your territory, but certainly would welcome the feedback.
Okay, I'm writing this down.
June 18th.
Presently, we do not have a molecule. We are budgeting for a molecule. We are going to do a molecule. We're not quite sure how to do it, well, the reason that we're going to go for a molecule is that we have multiple sites, and the idea is though I don't think it's possible, but we have to look into that, is to straddle the atoms and within a molecule cluster among different locations. These are still within the city, and these are going to be along our light rail, so we have fiber running underneath the rail, so we can get some pretty good latency. Anyway, so we're kind of looking at a molecule. We're moving over to IBM Maximo. So there's been some questions of how well the atoms will scale. I don't have any type of issues because we have, like, for example, there's something called a transit feed, which we spit out schedules for bus and rail, etc. And I noticed that if I tell the atom to use multiple cores, like 6, it will use them. And so it will read and write pretty quick, a couple of minutes. It'll do 1 million records. But anyways, we're going, so in other words, what I'm saying is that I'm looking for information about molecules, but were you doing it for a DR reason, not a scalability reason? But on the other hand, we also have questions about when we go to Maximo and use Atom as a API host, what can we scale? What can we handle? And those would be some examples. We're also going to, anyways, that's what's on my mind right now.
Fun fact. Always the hardest question.
Oh, wait a second. When to talk about schedule interface from Trapeze to Init or GTF? Oh, that's from Keith. Sorry. That's a different thing. I'll be quiet.
Sounds good. Okay, cool. Let's do one more. Let's see. No hand raising. So, John Bernard, you out there, sir?
I am here.
You're the person I was told to pick on.
Well,
I'm not gonna say who.
Yeah, my silver beard.
I will tell you though that he is. If you have your video monitor up, we can see all the faces here. This person was on the front screen. Is on the front screen.
All right. Well, I'm John Bernard. I work for a partner called InfoDat out of Houston, Texas. I'm EVP of Sales and Strategy. We've been working with the Boomi platform for more than 5 years. We've been a partner now for about 18 months, where we've got maybe 4 or 5 dozen successful projects under our belt. In Dallas, we just started a huge project with PLH. They're a big company. They're an industrial company that does pipelines and big utility lines and things like that. First project went really well, and now we're going to be able to do a lot more with them. We have a substantial footprint at Synexus up in Dallas. They're a subsidiary of Cardinal Health. We use the whole Boomi platform there, and I was listening to the discussion about Hub, and we could have given the same discussion about how we use Hub at Synexus. And there we connect pharmaceuticals to drug distributors to customers and clinics, and we collect insurance information and send things to insurance companies. So it's an incredibly complex solution, but it continues to grow, and they continue to be happy, and we use Boomi more and more. How has the Boomi user? This is my first Boomi user community event. Maybe I need one of those mixed drinks so I can talk better. And where our journey takes us next is we're really growing our Boomi practice quite aggressively. You know, we've added a lot of new customers. I see Pete Comer around here with Travis County Health. We worked with him to land that one recently. We've also been named as a subcontractor now, so we went through the gauntlet and got our subcontracting agreement signed. So we can now work through Boomi if anybody wants to use it, so we can work directly. Interesting fun facts. There's a lot of them. I ride a Harley around Texas. That's one of the most fun things I do. I'm still doing Tough Mudders every year, so I like to try to keep in shape. And, you know, nothing like a cold Corona at the end of the day to cut the dust.
Nice, very good. Thanks for sharing. So maybe for the next event, we can save a little time at the end and do a happy hour.
I'm all for it.
Note to self. I like the Harley story too.
Okay, I have an ultra classic if anybody cares.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you for sharing.
Yep.
All right, let's move on. Paul, Carrillo, you out there? I see you. You're right in the middle.
I'm here.
I'm gonna put you on spotlight, and I'm gonna give you just a second to kick this off and intro yourself, and then we'll get going. You should be able to. I'm trying to figure out a way to make all of the panelists larger, but let me flip back to the agenda so you can see the names and titles. You can see them. I'm still sharing, I think, right?
You are. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, you are.
and I think your screen you are spotlighted. I'm not sure if that's going to make you larger or not. Larger than life, but go for it, Paul.
Perfect. Well, I think, how long do we have, Andrew? 30 minutes for the panel discussion?
Yeah, that's about. Let's keep it around there. Let's leave some time at the end. I think we're 5 minutes ahead of schedule right now, so we're in good shape.
Cool. So let me introduce myself first. My name is Paul Carrillo. I'm a senior solutions consultant with Boomi. I've been with Boomi for a little over 2 years now. However, I've been in the integration space for a little over a decade. I actually started off my career as a developer, having co-developed a fintech solution that was eventually sold to a pretty large conglomerate. And then prior to Boomi, I was actually the pre-sales director focusing on enterprise integration specific to data management and API strategy. Essentially, they had their own enterprise integration solution that they were going to commercialize. And we were ready to put that into the market. And it was interesting because the reason why I found Boomi was one of my CTOs actually presented Boomi to me as a new low-code solution. And then 2 months after that, I had a job at Boomi. So I'm pretty sure he was kicking himself, kind of regretting that he showed me Boomi. So it's interesting that, you know, now that at Boomi, we're completely modernizing the way that people are looking at integration. So I'm really excited having these type of panel discussions. We had one last week, and I believe we had a little over 100 participants, Andrew. I think that's about right. It seems like there's a pretty good rate here with about 75 people. So what I'd like to do here is make this a little bit more interactive. I'll introduce the panelists. We can kind of walk through the same framework of introducing yourself. Why did you purchase Boomi? Where's the Boomi journey taking you? And then an interesting fact about yourself. If we don't have questions from the participants, I'll keep the questions going. But with that being said, let's go ahead and kick off the introductions with the panelists. So we can kind of walk through, starting with Greg Kane from Acme Brick, and then end off with Jeffrey True from Pioneer Natural Resources. But Greg, if you want to just kick us off with an intro, why did you purchase Boomi? Where's the Boomi journey taking you? And then an interesting fact about yourself.
And by the way, interesting fact about Greg, he's also one of our more active community members. Greg and I spent some time together at Boomi World last year. Definitely been an active participant on the community as well. So Greg, thank you for your participation. Keep it up. Set the tone for the rest of the group here, and hopefully they'll follow suit with you and Darwin. So thanks for joining us.
Sure, glad to be here. So I'm with Acme Brick here in Fort Worth. We have been using Boomi a little over a year, I guess. I started out as a COBOL mainframe programmer in a past life, have had a series of different titles and worked in different technologies, and pretty much just work on what my employer has needed me to work on. We got into Boomi because we had a bunch of different types of integrations going on. Some were SQL Server integration services, some were written in Java, some were manual uploads of spreadsheets, and we decided we wanted to consolidate on a tool. And we haven't really converted all of our old pieces that are working, or integrations that are working. We pretty much decided all the new stuff would be in Boomi, and then we would go back and get the other ones. If it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing. We looked at several different tools, and a lot of them have nice drag drop, low code looking features. The kind of thing that set Boomi apart was we understood the pricing. One of the competitors, even the sales guy, couldn't explain the pricing to us, so that was kind of a real scared us off. And also, I was able to get one of the engineers on the sales process to remote in on a web conference with me and let me drive, even though I'd never touched Boomi before, never took a class, and connect to our data and pull data and see it work. So, you know, that was definitely a plus. We're pretty happy with it. We do not have it spread out to the community. There's really myself and one other individual that are mostly doing the integrations. My title is Integration Architect. The big plus, I guess, is it's easy to use, it's easy to be productive. The one drawback, and probably why we don't release it to everybody, is it's so easy to use. I think you can build something that you don't want to build. I know I've gone back on my first integration and rewrote pieces of it that if I knew then what I know now kind of thing. Interesting fact about myself, if you were at the Dallas Users Group last, I took up barbecuing. There's one of my briskets that I've made. At the risk of offending any vegetarians, my wife won't let me buy a fifth smoker, so I have decided to cultivate blueberries.
Well, Greg, thank you very much.
So Greg, for our next Dallas user group, you're going to have to bring us brisket for our lunch or something, and with blueberries on the side.
There you go.
That's right. And Greg, if I just may ask, who was the competitor that we were going up against in your evaluation?
There were several. We looked at the Gartner quadrant, and you know, I don't want to toss names out, especially on the pricing. You can probably figure that one out, knowing your competitors. We did look at MuleSoft. I'm trying to think of, we looked at like 4 or 5, and Boomi made the short list real quick, and we decided to go with it. With the pricing was really the kicker, and the sales engineer that worked with me pre-sales.
Got it. And one last question here before I pass it over to Jeff. How many parts of the platform did you invest? Was it just integration, or was it multiple parts of the platform?
So we're just working with integrations now. We're looking at expanding into some API work.
Okay.
And I know we've kicked around Data Hub. I think that's probably a little bit down the road for us. I see the value in it. And I think my manager sees the value in it. I just think we have some other things we're going to try to knock out first.
Got it. Got it. Well, thank you, Greg, for the introduction. If we can now kick it off to Jeff Greenlee from Select Energy Services. Jeff?
Thank you, Paul. Yeah, so I've been a Boomi customer / user for about 3 years now. Select Energy Service is in the oil and gas space, and we are, as our name suggests, we are a services company. As a matter of fact, I noticed that one of my co-panelists, Jeffrey with Pioneer is actually one of our customers. So what drove us toward the Boomi space was, our industry is very Excel paper-based, and we are looking to move into digitizing field tickets, and making a lot of that process more systematic and programmatic. So one of the projects that I was working on was just that. We had picked up a service that was built on the Salesforce platform that needed integration between the field ticketing system and our ERP. And again, we had a couple of options. We looked at Boomi and one other competitor. Again, I think we were looking at the Magic Quadrant, and just did some polling around, some asking around folks who had used the two different offerings, and decided on Boomi. I probably am a little bit different from a lot, I'm going to assume anyway. Up until very recently, I've actually been using an integration partner for my Boomi work. Just here very recently, I've gotten into dabbling with building my own integrations, and basically because I've had these other integrations built ahead of me, I've been very lucky that I've had those to use as a template and as an example to build on to, for what any new integrations that I need to build. But very happy with the product. As I said, it's we use it in a couple different ways. It keeps contract or customer equipment data synchronized between my field ticketing system and our ERP, because we use our ERP as our golden source of data. And then when we need to move finished field ticket information, we use Boomi again to either go from the field ticketing system directly back into our ERP, or here recently, we've had a lot of customers who are moving to another platform called Open Ticket. And so we're using the Boomi platform to move our ticket data into the Open Ticket sphere. And they use that to approve tickets, review tickets, and then send that data back down to us. Let's see. Fun fact, I guess, with the quarantine, I've been able to pick up an old childhood habit of building. I haven't gotten it back into flying, but I'm really into radio controlled airplanes and boats and cars and that kind of stuff. So with all the quarantine, I've had a little bit of extra time on my hands to do that.
Very cool. And Jeff, question for you. You talked a little bit about picking up Boomi as an integration tool. And I see that your title is Senior IT Project Manager. What kind of skill set do you have, and how were you able to pick up Boomi?
So it's interesting. Yeah, I did hire on to Select as a project manager. I'm a PMP certified, and I've been doing IT project management now for 20 plus years. But having moved to Select, a little bit smaller IT shop, and so therefore I wear a lot of different hats with Select. So I run the gamut from business requirement sessions to running projects to QAing software to UAT, you name it. I do all kinds of stuff, and that's where I was saying early on in our project, and still currently, we use an integration partner that builds my Boomi integrations for me. But here recently, I've gotten into to dabbling with that, doing that myself.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you, Jeff. And then let's kick it off to Jeffrey Chu from Pioneer Natural Resources.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Jeffrey Chu. So I'm with Pioneer Natural Resources. We're an independent oil and gas company, like Jeff was saying earlier, right? So we've been using Pioneer for about 4 or 5 years now. And how we ended up with Boomi was, like the others mentioned, right? We were reviewing or going through a different tool sets for integration, and we look at the Magic Quadrant and we picked Boomi during that time. But before that, we used to have a different integration tool within Pioneer. You can say it's a legacy integration tool, and it's a little bit outdated in terms of functionality. So with the things that we're looking for, since we're going through and planning to go through an ERP journey during that time, so we decided to go with Boomi. So that's how we ended up with Boomi. Right now, 5 years since then, right, we have about 200 to 300 integrations here at Pioneer. We went live 2 years ago. We went through the process of stabilization. Now it's more of continuous improvement. For myself, I've been in the integration industry for more than a decade now. I've used multiple tools previously, from Web Methods, TibCo, other tools out there, you name it. I've either touched it or used it before. So I started as a developer before, a Java developer, and then I went through integration tools. And even though right now I'm the manager here at Pioneer for integration, my role is not really pure the people management. We wear multiple hats here, so I do the architecture, and then I'm also kind of working as a tech lead, project manager, you name it, whatever is needed, we do that here. So interesting fact about me, I love basketball. I'm a Laker fan. Unfortunately,
yes.
there's nothing is going on right now, so that's a bummer, but hopefully soon, playoff, because this time is normally a playoff time, but due to whatever is happening right now, that's not happening.
Would you consider LeBron the GOAT?
Not really, after watching The Last Dance.
Matt, no comments.
Jeff, question for you here. Who's touching the Boomi platform within your organization, and what's the skill set needed to pick up a tool set like Boomi?
So right now, we are in the process of enabling citizen development within our company. So when we did the ERP, it was just internal technical resources, right? We had an SI partner during that time who helped us with enabling Boomi and implementing ERP in general. We worked with Deloitte during that time, but after the implementation, it's more internal now. So, but that's the next step that we're going through currently, is enabling our partners. Because the nice thing about the Boomi tool, right, aside from having the capability for pro code development, right, you can also do low code or no code. So that's why we're enabling the product for our partners to use it.
Interesting. And, you talked a little bit about enabling your partners. From a partner perspective, if you're looking at accelerating your business outcomes, how would you measure success in that situation if you're enabling your partners, specifically with a tool like Boomi?
I think for us to be able to be successful, right, governance needs to be in place. So that's one of the things that we're working, that's a continuous process for us, right? So governance is one of the things that we're trying to stabilize here, and to get to that center of excellence. We've defined our best practices, naming standards, we define our framework. So those things are there, and for us to measure success is to be able to follow all that process, right? And see how that progress.
Right. And yeah, interestingly enough, you know, having that foundation and the right architectural framework before your implementation just goes such a long way. So, I mean, you know, questions to Jeff and Greg, can you talk a little bit about potential new prospects with Boomi, and then maybe even new customers? What was in your preliminary requirement gathering to make sure that you had a strong foundation to implement a platform like Boomi?
Well, this is Greg. We brought Boomi in, and I immediately got thrown into a project to interface with Oracle Supply Chain Management. And I was literally taking the online courses while I was being asked to give delivery dates for the whole project. So it was a trial by fire. We luckily had on the Oracle side, our partner we worked with to help us implement the cloud side, they had a couple of Boomi guys on staff. So when I hit the wall too bad, they were able to work with me and get me over the hump. It was definitely a challenge because, you know, I would have loved to have a interface to this secure FTP site first instead of the whole big, you know, SOAP calls and having to write looping logic in Boomi to know when the 45-minute data process is finished so I can continue on. It was a little tricky, but it's successful. It runs 6 days a week. It's running well. Pretty happy with it. That was one that I wish I'd have known a little bit more about extensions when I talked about you can kind of paint yourself in a corner. So I had to go back and rework a little bit of that. I also, at Acme, we use a scheduling product called Title. So we use JD Edwards as our ERP. And as Jeff mentioned, our ERP is our golden record. So we schedule all of our JD Edwards jobs, our Java jobs, our Boomi jobs with Title. So I got to learn how to do a web service call to Boomi to, you know, run this process in this atom at this time. So that was pretty interesting too. Again, I think we're going to try to get into the API piece a little bit. My current project is another Oracle CRM. So we had already done the commercial side of the business. At Acme Brick, we supply for commercial projects and we also do residential projects. We had implemented commercial before we had Boomi, the interface there. So I'm doing the residential side, and then we're going to migrate the commercial over to the residential side. So that's the project I'm in the middle of now.
Got it.
Yeah, and Paul, we're looking at possibly at your master data hub. We had looked at that a little bit ago. Myself and my manager, you know, we certainly see the benefit in, you know, again with our ERP is Microsoft's Navision, their Dynamics Navision line. You know, that being considered as our golden source of info. We've got so many other systems that we use, from, you know, HRIS to field ticketing systems that I use. Just tons of different stuff that we use that even if it's just a handful of fields, you know, accounts, equipment, employees, you know, those types of things, you know, we certainly see the need to be able to make sure that all of those are kept in sync, especially in our industry. You know, from a driver or an operator or like a field type person. In our industry, the turnover is so high. You know, just trying to keep those people straight is a pretty tough job. And I think part of your other question is, you know, like I said, I didn't have to learn it right at the very beginning. I was pretty fortunate. Like I said, we have and I still do use an implementation partner. But with the COVID-19, as I had mentioned, there's a lot of our customers who are really accelerating their desire to use this this system called Open Ticket that I was telling you about. And so I'm having to take and do multiple integrations with a bunch of different customers. And unfortunately, every one of those is just a little bit different because, you know, even though you may have a similar data set that you're sending field ticket data over, you know, one customer might call a field ticket number, the other one might call it ticket number, the other one, you know, so there's no seems to be similar naming conventions. So all of those integrations are just a little bit different. They all require a little bit of time. But hopefully after some of that stuff dies down and I get a lot of those customers taken care of, I'm going to sit down and start learning the architecture myself. And you know, one of the things that I've seen, and I think I'll give you guys a little props for, is your training, your online training. I've dove into that before, and I think you guys have a pretty good little training course and certification course online. So I like that.
Appreciate that. Yeah, definitely got to get the feedback. And Jeff, question for you. Now, you talked a little bit about what I would consider a data quality and a data synchronization issue. When you were evaluating an integration tool like Boomi, was data quality being considered at that point in time?
Yes, to a degree, yes. You know, because again, in our ticketing system, our original ticketing system that we had purchased Boomi with, you know, we are basing our tickets on account data, equipment data, you know, our trucks, trailers, and then our resource codes, so our product IDs. All of that information had to be exact out of our ERP system, because you're bringing that stuff into a field ticketing system, but you're sending it right back into your ERP for invoicing. So if that data is not correct and it's not the same, you really run a huge risk of having a lot of invoices tied up in a dispute status, because you might have an item code or a product code wrong, that kind of thing. So yeah, we relied on that integration between our ERP and that ticketing system hugely. It was big for us.
Got it. And then last one here for Jeff. Any war stories for Jeff Chu that you could share from an implementation perspective for potential new customers of Boomi or prospects? Any lessons learned?
I think the main thing is I was fortunate enough to have some integration background before we went into the ERP journey. We worked closely with Boomi during that time, is to make sure that you have the groundwork and background done first, right? Get the groundwork done, like making sure your architecture is solid and have a good framework in place before you go to that journey of implementing, especially like 200 interfaces, right? So you have to make sure that you have that foundation in place before doing the build itself. Because once you start building, right, it gets hard to come back and fix those things, right, with all the things that's going on. So we started focusing first to make sure that we lay the groundwork before doing the actual development for the ERP process itself.
Got it. And I'll ask one more question here if there's no other questions from the participants, but we talked a little bit about the past, lessons learned. Starting with you, Jeff Chu, what is something you would like for Boomi to invest in from a product enhancement perspective in the short term or the long term?
Well, I think right now I've been working closely with our partners at Boomi, right? Which is, we're waiting on the bot SDK to be available for us to look into, right? And then, of course, all the cloud technology that you guys have now. So we're into doing cloud integrations right now. We're looking into that, and we also have interest in bot integration. So those are the things that we are excited and looking forward to working with Boomi. And one thing, Paul, to mention, right, that ever since our journey with Boomi, which is been, like I said, 5 years from now, Boomi has been a great partner for us. When they started, when we first started with the product, right, the capability that Boomi has compared to where it is now, it's been a great improvement from where we are right now. And that's a testament to how Boomi has been open to working with their partners to make sure that they're able to provide whatever they need, right, to be able to serve their community.
Absolutely. And there's some really cool things that are coming out in the roadmap. So stay tuned for all the roadmap webinars that we have coming up. Jeff Greenleaf, same question to you. What product enhancements would you like to see in the short term or the long term?
You know, Paul, I really couldn't tell you. My head is I am so wrapped around like immediate needs right now, and just I've got such a huge backlog of trying to get things done at this point. I honestly have not had the luxury of saying, okay, what can you do for me next? I really don't know.
All right, so I'll relay that message to R&D and pat him on the back. I'll let him know that they're doing a good job. Awesome. And then Greg Kane.
So really, Boomi is going well. I mean, as far as there's new features and functionality, the Unify acquisition, you guys are keeping ahead of what I can even second guess. I did want to toss out a little bit off topic is the no code and low code is awesome and great, but I also like the fact that I can dive in and write some code. Part of this project I'm working on now, we're getting spreadsheets for multiple vendors. And as Jeff Greenleaf mentioned, you know, these spreadsheets are, you know, totally different. I was able to take the Apache POI library from Java library, import a few jars, and take some example code on the Boomi community site, modify it to fit my needs, and now I'm pumping spreadsheets in to SQL Server, then loading those up to the cloud. So I like that you can roll your sleeves up and get down and dirty if you need to when the need is there. Of course, you don't do that if you don't need to. You use the connectors and you take advantage of all the whiz-bang cool tools that Boomi has. As far as where it needs to go, man, you guys are keeping ahead of me and I'm real impressed. I also want to give some kudos to how often updates come out to the Atom and Atom sphere. And we've yet to have a process break with an update. So, you know, that's awesome. Unheard of with most updates from most vendors.
That's a great quote.
Awesome.
Love it.
Well, Greg, Jeff, and Jeff, honestly, thank you for the interaction. Great responses from you. Always love hearing from our customers. And we'll certainly keep you on your toes for the new product enhancements going forward. And with that being said, I'll kick it over to Andrew.
Great. Great job, Paul. Thank you. It's better every time. Appreciate it, guys. If you know, it kind of sort of going along with the last question about what can Boomi do for you, and for those of you who are not familiar or who haven't had a chance to use the community, there is a feature in there around ideation. So if you do have product ideas and you want to provide that feedback back to the team, there is that ideation tool in there. You can submit your product ideas, get your peers to vote those ideas up. Once they hit a certain threshold, then they get reviewed by our product team and for consideration in the roadmap. And if I'm doing my math correctly, last I looked, because we are tracking the number of ideas and we're tracking the number of ideas that actually get delivered, it's somewhere around 6 or 7%. Matt, keep me honest on that one if you know, but that's where we are. Cool. So that's amazing. I mean, that's definitely above industry benchmarks to take that kind of input from customers and users of the platform. So if you have ideas, get in there, submit your ideas, and they'll definitely take a listen to that. So thank you guys for contributing to that process. I really appreciate it. So we have one more. We're a bit behind schedule, so I've asked Kartik to to cut some of his content out. Kartik, I apologize. There's been some good interaction, and I appreciate your willingness to allow the conversation to flow organically as it has. So thank everyone for your participation. Definitely would love for the 61 people that are still on to stay on until the very end so we can give Kartik his time to share his story. And then last but not least, very importantly, I have a couple of quick announcements at the end about some upcoming user groups. I mentioned the UI UX session happening in New York, well, virtually in New York, Boston, Philadelphia, and Toronto on June 18th. That's my birthday, so I'll be on that call for that one. Maybe we'll get a birthday cheer. And then there's the poll at the end, and that's the most important piece for us to continue to improve these events. We've had some ideas, and I just capture ideas just by watching you all. I saw Catherine's cat join us. So I think for the next one, we're gonna ask people to bring their pets. You know, we maybe do a happy hour at the very end. So we're gonna make these, continue to make these things new and interesting and fun for you all. So with that, appreciate everyone's participation so far. Let's bring her home. Kartik, it's all you.
Thanks, Andrew. And thanks for the opportunity as well. Let me quickly share my screen and go to presentation. Okay. Hey everyone, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you guys are from. I just wanted to give a brief overview of what we do in Dell. So I work for Dell as an integration architect, and we have been using Boomi for the past 10 years. So the merger of Boomi and Dell happened back in 2010. And ever since we started using Boomi, we initially started off as a proof of concept to try and use a product that we had just acquired. And that's where the journey started. And this was before my time with Dell. I joined Dell back in 2015, and I've been working with Boomi ever since, on Boomi platform ever since I was an architect there, right? And we have grown multifold in the last 5 years. I've been working on this platform within Dell IT, and we have done multiple acquisitions as a company. Dell has acquired a lot of companies, including EMC recently. That was a very big acquisition that Dell did, and most of the integrations that these two companies shared on day one of their merger came out of Boomi, and Boomi became the go-to product for both the companies after the merger was completed, right? And we were going at a pace of 10 miles an hour before that, and once this merger kicked off, the interest peaked, and we were running at around 100 miles per hour after that, right? So a lot of things changed, and our footprint, infrastructure, and the amount of integrations, number of developers, everything spiked crazy after the merger. And I just wanted to share that our journey, where we were, where we are, and where we want to be, right? And on the way, we learned a lot of lessons, and we just want to share those lessons with you guys. Here goes nothing. So this is a quick agenda. I don't want to waste time on that. Let's jump right in. As I said, we started.
Kartik, sorry, I'm not sure if you're sharing slides. I can't see them on my side. I don't know if that's just me, perhaps.
Okay, let me check that.
There we go.
Okay.
Something's coming up now.
Okay.
I think we just see. Maybe it's there. We go.
Okay.
Awesome.
So as I said, we started a journey way back in 2010, and there were a limited amount of features available on the product as such at that point in time, and we built our infrastructure around those features that was available to us at that point in time. And that led to us to a decision where we decided to have 3 separate accounts for our environments, putting certain environments in one account, which is test, and then UAT a separate account, and prod a separate account. And when I looked at it, when I joined Dell, and when I looked at the way it is set up, I couldn't understand the way we supposed to work with it.
And it was not easy thing to do, easy thing to work with, because if you have to move a code from test to prod or UAT to prod, you have to actually literally copy the code from one account to the other and then deploy it there, which is not, which is always error prone. And we have suffered a lot with manual work that we have done and the issues that have come up with because of that. So, and then we have a lot of other issues that we had, for example, we were not able to scale our infrastructure as quickly as we wanted to be, because the spike that we saw in number of integrations that are being deployed versus the infrastructure growth was too narrow, and we ran into issues around eating up all of resources in production. So we wanted to create an infrastructure that is easily scalable. And also we wanted to deploy and read a lot of integration. So when the user logs into the UI is rendered from the cloud. We all know that the integrations design and all the process canvas and everything that is there on the design screen is being rendered from the cloud. And the more you create and more you deploy, like in our case, there were around 800 integrations that were sitting in a design window. And we had to download all of those metadata when a user logs in, right? And that created a lot of churn. It took a lot of time for each of those windows to go across from design to deploy to item management and things like that. So we ran into those type of issues. So then we wanted to segregate things. We wanted to make sure that separate segment of users uses certain things which is not visible or doesn't have to worry about for a different segment, right? Like sales department, they create a list of integrations. A services department guy wouldn't be worried about all those integrations. He has to just look at the integration that is team built and manage only those things like that. And these churns and these type of copy paste activities also took a lot of time in going to market with the integrations that we are building. So the time to market is the best thing that we get out of Boomi drag and drop tool. And even there, we were suffering from all these difficulties, right? So we had to do something about it. So that's where our futuristic plan came into picture. The way we wanted it to be is to have a master and child account, multiple child accounts, segregating the environments and the runtimes. So if you see here, the master account will have all the runtimes built in. All the platform engineers who actually manage our platforms, they go to the master account and they manage everything across segments. And if a developer who belongs to a services account, segment, he doesn't have to worry about what sales and marketing team are doing on their integration platforms. All he needs to do is worry about creating integrations and then deploy them on test and prod environments that belong to that segment. So they don't have to worry about what are the runtimes underneath it, and what other people in the other segments are doing. They can very well go and check it, but they don't have to not constantly worry about the integrations and comb through them in order to find their integrations in the mix. So this is the structure that we came about, and we also wanted vertical and horizontal scalability, and not in weeks or days. We wanted to be in minutes. And auto healing mechanism, we wanted a system to come back online automatically at the platform or infrastructure level, and we don't want it to be waiting for a SC system engineer to get in there and then fix things for that, right? And then there is also segregation of duties. A person should not be able to go and modify the platform level attributes while he's just a developer. So things like that. And there are a lot of activities that needs to be controlled when it comes to 250 plus users going in there on a daily basis. We don't want anything to change or be modified by people who are not supposed to do it. High availability and data retention and all those where, as an enterprise, we need that to be available. So high availability was a big thing. When things go down, we don't want it to be impacting our customers and our internal clients. And deployment automation, things we wanted to go much faster. We wanted to be controlled, as we said. We want a process in place. We want approvals in place. And all that is taken care of under deployment automation. We wanted that very badly. API management, we have a lot of APIs being developed in the company right now because of our migration from on-prem systems to SaaS-based vendor-based applications like Salesforce, Workday, ServiceNow. We used to have all of these as a on-prem application like a decade ago or 5 years ago. That's no longer the case. Everyone wants to migrate to cloud and be agnostic of regions and be available 99.99%, right? So that's all provided to us through vendor apps, and we wanted to be able to communicate with them with the same level of commitment and same level of uptime. And that's something that we want to achieve as well. So one other thing that we wanted to look at closely is end-to-end transaction visibility. As and when these integration increases, and there are a number of systems that we interact with also increases, we wanted to be able to provide that end-to-end transaction visibility, not just within Boomi, but the upstream and downstream systems that interact with Boomi. We want to be able to provide that end-to-end visibility. So we also built systems around it. We pull data out of Boomi, and then we showcase that on Splunk. We showcase that on a homegrown application that we have built in-house. So those are the things that are made available. And platform CI/CD, we want to be able to deploy the code, deploy new versions, deploy new code here without manual intervention, without anybody getting in there, or a button click event. And also better account management. The master sub account topology gives us a lot of configurations and controls over what can and cannot be done, and that is what we are alluding to when we say better account management. And processing type based on infra, this is again, we have a lot of types of integrations that we deploy, like batch and real time, and within real time there are a lot of other things like near real time listeners and all that. And we wanted to be able to configure the JVMs accordingly. So if you have a JVM that is a single JVM that is very good for real-time integration, because you don't have to spend time on spinning up a new JVM for every single transaction that's coming in. Whereas for a batch process, a fork JVM would be a much better solution, because a fork JVM gives you isolation on the JVM that you're using for that particular execution. If one fails, it doesn't bring down everything, or there is a rope tied around the amount of resources that a particular execution can pick up and use. It cannot just use up all the available resources there. So there are advantages and disadvantages of forked and single JVM, and it has to be applied to specific use cases. So building different runtimes that uses different types of these settings will also enable us to provide that level of comfort to the developers and support team members. So we also wanted to monitor the health of the systems, the servers themselves, and everything that is surrounding the infrastructure to make sure that they are performing to their peak performance availability. And we also put some thresholds in place to monitor them and alert people when things are about to go wrong. So that's also in place. So, and on top of the integrate, which is a major portion of things that we invest our time and effort on, we also have Boomi Flow and Master Data Hub. We don't have a huge presence there, but we do have a lot of integrations and a lot of flows that have been deployed. This Boomi Flow and Master Data Hub has been, we picked up this in the past year or so, past 2 years, I think. And we have been investing a lot of effort in learning this and creating a center of excellence within the team for these products as well, or these applications as well, right? So I would just want to take a pause if there is any questions. I'm not seeing the chat window here, so Andrew, if you could help me out if there is any questions around, I think.
No questions coming in right now. No hand raises. So yeah, any questions? Anybody? Now is a good opportunity. If you have questions, raise your hands. Put it in the chat.
Yeah, I do have a question, Andrew, Kartik. So, looking at this presentation that you shared, right? All the things that you mentioned here are things that we're working on right now as part of our continuous improvement. And my question is, to achieve all this within Boomi, right? Are you partnering with other tools to get those capability up and running? Like, for example, platform CI/CD, and then deployment automation, and end-to-end transaction visibility. How do you plan to get to that? Is there a roadmap for that?
Yeah, so yeah, good question. And I think it's Jeffrey. I didn't see the name, but I can understand it's Jeffrey too.
Yes.
So I was listening to your comments about your work around these topics, Jeffrey, and I was thinking about the same thing. Our roadmap, most of it aligns actually. So the platform CI/CDPs, for example, I'm going to allude to a topic that I'm going to see in the next slide, but we are trying to use PKS, Pivotal Container Services, as our underlying infrastructure for our Boomi platform. So when we get there, we are also working on building the platform CI/CD capabilities using third-party tools again that we use at the enterprise level and in Dell. So we continue to use them like Jenkins and GitHub and all that. The form factor and everything that we decide on in our future state architecture is based on a lot of analysis that we did and based on our direction that we want to take in our future architecture. So some of these aspects are taken care of within that architecture, and some of them are done through homegrown applications. Like for example, the end-to-end transaction visibility is provided through an homegrown application that we built for multiple apps. So that app is actually a pub/sub mechanism where a lot of different applications within our ecosystem pushes the log data and the transactional data to that application, including Boomi. And that application provides that end-to-end transaction visibility at the end of it, right? So Atmosphere APIs is a good way of pulling data out of Boomi and publishing it out to these homegrown applications that we have. And there are also Splunk indexes that we deployed on our hosts that also pulls all the data and provides it to the transaction visibility tool. So there are multiple other ways, and we are also changing the ways we do things. We might be doing something today, and we constantly change that and evolve to a better and robust solution as and when it presents itself to us, right? And we constantly look out for things in the community within Dell and even on the Boomi community side to see what other teams members are doing to pick that up and try it out as a POC and then implement it if it is successful. So that's the way we have been working so far. We don't stick to one thing. We constantly try to evolve and move the platforms accordingly.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know. So that kind of helps me validate that we're in the right direction. Yeah, thanks.
Awesome.
So two most important things that we normally focus and we wanted to think about in every step of the way is scalable and also a segregated infrastructure. So scalability, obvious need for everyone who is on a platform at this scale, and the number of integrations that we deploy on a daily basis and things like that. Segregated infrastructure is a use case that we wanted to get to because of our experience with what we have seen so far. We don't want the users to comb through like hundreds of integrations to identify their code and start working on them, right? Just the simple thing is, if you go to a build screen and if you have like 800 or 1,000 folders in there, for you to identify your integration, it's going to take that many minutes to scroll down and pull that one onto your process canvas and start working on that. So even that is a user experience that we want to make better, and segregated infrastructure and segregated accounts provides us the way and means to do that. So just to dig in deeper a little bit on the PKS infrastructure that I was talking about earlier, that's a pilot program that we are working with Boomi engineering team, and this is Pivotal Container Services. Pivotal is again a Dell subsidiary under VMware. So we're all strategically aligned businesses. So this is Boomi, Dell, Pivotal, and VMware coming together in order to provide a solution for all the users, right? So we are piloting with the Boomi engineering team on this, where if anybody is aware of Pivotal or if they have worked on Kubernetes, they would know this. But we have two clusters that we are building around non-prod and prod, and the clusters will have multiple environments in there. And these environments are easily scalable horizontally and vertically. So if you have to increase the system resources of a single environment, you can do so by click of a button on the PK's dashboard. Same thing goes to adding new environments in there, parallel environments for a different set of groups to work on it. You can always add that within the click of a button again. So the scalability aspect of things comes out of the box with PKS as an underlying infrastructure. So this is a architecture that we are working on right now as a pilot. While we are doing that, we are also adding a lot of features that we have not been using in the past. Like, for example, we have started using Cloud Molecule instead of the other form factors like atoms and molecules. Cloud Molecules gives you a lot of control over what a user or a runtime should do and should not. Excuse me. So, and that also gives you a control over how many users have to be logged into a particular account and how many integrations have to be deployed in a single account. And that gives you a lot of control over that as well. So the master child hierarchy can be scaled horizontally. You can add more and more accounts in the future. You just have new set of team coming to you and asking for Boomi development capabilities, adding a new citizen development team. You can always add a separate account for them so that they're isolated, and the amateur mistakes that a new team would normally do that could potentially bring down a runtime will be isolated to that particular account. So things like that can be taken care of natively by just using a separate account for them. Excuse me. So the runtimes and everything will be configured on the master account, and the platform engineers don't have to worry about how many environments are being created or how many integrations are being deployed. Is something that the platform engineer doesn't have to worry about. All they need to worry about is to keep the runtimes up and running and monitor the capacity, monitor the load, and if anything, then they have to scale up or scale down based on the metrics that they see. So that's their worry. So they will manage all that on the master account, and a developer who don't have to worry about what is the runtime, what is the CPU, what is the memory or a storage availability, that person doesn't have to worry about all that. So the developer just have to worry about building a proper integration, testing it out, and deploying it, and they do that on their sub account. Right? This is very similar to our Boomi Atom Cloud, which functions based on the Cloud Molecule concept. So we are implementing that on a private cloud. This is basically implementing the multi-tenant cloud on the AWS that Boomi provides on an enterprise private cloud setup, right? And there are just for horizontal scaling, you just need to increase the number of pods that are available for each environment. That will just achieve your horizontal scaling. For any vertical scaling, you just add new namespaces, new resources to the namespaces, right? And that would take care of vertical scaling. And that's all done through a click of a button when it comes to PKS, Kubernetes Container Services. And as I said, adding more environments, and that's also simpler. Adding more accounts, that's also easier. You just have to work with your account managers and to provision more sub-accounts, and that would take care of your segregation needs. I saw one hand going up.
Yeah. Hey, Carter. We have to wrap it up just so we don't go over. And we do have one question from the audience here. So Shannon, you're unmuted. Saw that you had raised your hand. So the floor is yours.
Yes. My name is Shannon. I've been working on Boomi for a little bit over 6 months. I do have a couple of questions. Hopefully this is quick. They're both regarding email notification to users. When I ran into development on the notify shape and look at online paper, I realized that the notify shape would only work within production environments. So is this configurable, or is it going to be something working in the future to work in both development and production environments? Since we would like to test it in the development environment as well. Number two question is also related to email notification. The email notify or email alerts within account setup is related or is based on account. If it will be based on process, that'll be much better and much usable, since we have different processes sponsored by different business units. That's my question.
Andrew, I can quickly answer the question if it's okay. So I think, Shannon, the first question that you asked is for Notify Shape to be available in your dev account as well. I think you just have to contact your account manager to enable that. And the second question is emails sent out at the process level, not just the account level. There are mail connector shapes that are available, and you can configure that to be sent out to your support team or to the developer group themselves. And that's configurable at the integration level as well. So it's a design time attribute that you have to just build, and you can send emails from at the process level. If anything goes wrong, you can send an email out.
Awesome, Karthik, thank you so much. Appreciate that. I would encourage you guys to continue the conversation on the community. If you have additional questions with Karthik, you can post them in the forums @mention Karthik, and Karthik, you should get notified as @mention you, and then can go in there and provide additional comment. So really appreciate everyone's participation. Thanks to the group for hanging on. Let's do this so we can be efficient with time, because we are butting up against the end of our session today. So I'm going to do two things at once. One is I'm going to launch the poll. We have about 50 people still on the call, so thank you all for hanging in there. Really would love for you all to take a second to fill this out. It's pretty quick. I just launched it, so you should see that popping up. And I'll leave that up for the duration of the call. Again, this feedback's a gift. This is going to help us continue to improve these events. This is our third virtual event. Feedback has been incorporated into everyone to get to where we are today. And we will continue doing this process and making these better and more tailored to what your needs are. So while we're doing that, would also love to get some live feedback. If anybody has any comments they want to make to the group, we are all ears. Again, these events are for you all. So we want to make sure you're going to get the most out of the time that you spend with us. So Caitlin, can you just keep an eye on the group and then unmute folks as if they raise their hands?
Sounds good.
So fire away, anybody. So we'll keep the poll open. Hopefully everybody can see that. And in addition to that, any comments anybody has for this event, we're all yours. Everybody like the idea of bringing their pets to the next one? Head shakes? Yep. And a beer
Someone
or
had
two?
also said earlier we should play some music while these polls are going.
I saw that. I saw that.
Start. I think that's a great idea.
That's an awesome idea. I love it. I saw Jeopardy. Jeopardy was the suggestion. I could play some Johnny Cash, but I did see the Jeopardy suggestion. But it's also a good time to have conversation. Anybody have any general comments, not just feedback? Now's a good time. Nobody. There's got to be somebody out there with comments. Susan, I see a hand raised.
Yeah, I'll put my face out there too. It was very compelling information for me. At some time, I had other things I needed to take care of, so it was a little long.
Yep.
in some respects. Great networking possibilities. Actually, I've already reached out to Catherine, being in higher ed.
Yes.
I'm
Awesome.
real appreciative of this opportunity, and I will continue to join in when I can. So thank you for this opportunity. Really appreciate it.
Of course, thank you for participating and for engaging. Love to get more of us doing that. So
Looks like
I'm thinking that pet thing may help, with putting your cameras on.
Looks
And
like Alberto has some
we could also
feedback,
try to
too.
do that. We could also do maybe the beer session, the happy hour before the event.
Yeah.
Alberto, I'll go ahead and unmute you.
As far as pets go, I can't keep them out, so it's not like it was a special thing.
We enjoyed the moment.
Yeah, my only comment was going to be, I think user groups are a great thing, and I find that I'm so busy at work that usually I can't make it to any. And I think it's going to be interesting to see in this new paradigm we're in right now. This was a lot easier to do because it's just a different work environment. Yep. And joining these things remotely, I think I might actually be more inclined to join them than driving across town and meeting people face to face, as much fun as that is.
Totally
so I think it'd be kind of interesting what this whole situation will do to groups like this.
Yeah, that's a great point. And we find that, I mean, as you noticed from the initial poll, a majority of people were first timers. I mean, I take the Dallas area, I use that as an example. I think I'm just suspecting that a majority are from the Dallas metro area, being one of the larger metro areas in Texas. But just at our Dallas event, I mean, Greg is in Fort Worth, and for him to get up to Dallas with traffic and everything can be really difficult. But for something like this, you just, you click a button and you're there. I mean, the nice thing is about the in-person events is you get on a personal level that opportunity to shake hands and or bump elbows or whatever we're going to do when we return to normal, whatever normal is. But it's a great opportunity to connect, and then we'll always throw a happy hour or dinner or something in with that. But I get it. That's the whole intent of having the video turned on, is so that you at least get a chance to see your peers, and then if assuming you go to Boomi World or one of our larger events, then that would be the chance. Oh, I remember Catherine's face, or I remember seeing Greg or Jeff on video during one of our user groups. And we can spin these things up a lot faster. And to coordinate and orchestrate the in-person events takes a lot more effort, whereas these are pretty quick, and just get the word out, and then people show up, and here we are. So I appreciate that feedback, Alberto. And I don't think we're going to replace these. I think these are just going to be just one more opportunity to connect you all with each other. So we'll have the in-person events for those that can do that, and we'll have the virtual events for those that can't. And we can also reach those remote areas for people who don't have enough of a group of customers that are in close proximity. So thanks for the feedback. Anybody else? Going once. Aiden, any or Drew, if you're still on, any closing comments? Aiden, I think you're on mute. Caitlin, do you want to unmute Aiden? Or I can do it right here, can I? Yeah.
Yes, you should be. Oh,
I'm trying to do it and you're trying to do it.
Oh, okay.
I'll let you do it.
Okay. Doesn't seem to be working for me.
Interesting. Sorry, Aiden. All right, everybody. This was great. We really appreciate it, everyone for hanging in there. We definitely look forward to the next set of events. Be on the lookout for those. For those of you who are interested in that, with the one with the UX, that's going to be on June 18th. It's not on the community yet, but it will be on the community later this week. So you can check out the date, see if that works, and register for that event. If you go to community.boomi.com/s as in Sam /events with an S at the end. It's in the navigation as well if you're not going to remember that. But Thank you, everybody. Everyone stay safe. Appreciate the participation, and we will catch you at the next one. See you guys.
Thanks,
Hi,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.